Academic publishing has a particular way of handling collective work. It flattens it. Multiple contributors get turned into a single authorial voice. Disagreements are usually worked out before they ever reach the page. And the actual conditions that make the work possible, the conversations, the gatherings, the infrastructure, usually disappears into the acknowledgments, if it appears at all. This project is an attempt to build something that works differently. What you're looking at is a project called Databases Book and Lively Community Archive. It's an experimental book project funded by Open Book Futures. I'm Angela Okune, and I've been working on this with Aurelia Munene, Siokao Mutonga, Leonida Mutuku, and Wambuiwa Munyu. We represent a wide range of disciplinary training, including anthropology, communications, actuarial and data science, and international development. We're based in Kenya, usually, and we've been working together since 2019. The project is grounded in our specific context. In Kenya, being taken seriously as a researcher often still depends on publishing in particular journals, being affiliated with certain institutions, and citing particular bodies of theory. Those expectations shape what kinds of knowledge are seen as credible and whose work travels. A lot of what we're trying to do came out of sitting with that tension over time. Most of this work didn't look like writing. It looked like this. Zoom calls where we were venting about research conditions, talking through current events, eating samosas, trying to figure out what we even meant by Databases Book, and spending lots of time on questions that didn't necessarily have clear answers. We've been meeting like this for years. In that relationship, the time it took to build enough trust to disagree and keep going, that's not background to the project. It's a core part of why this project has been able to be sustained. Our pace was slow, more or less on purpose. Not every conversation had to go somewhere concrete. That was the point. We were trying to avoid resolving things too quickly just so that they would be legible on the page. We also didn't start with writing. We started with artifacts. These were pictures of graffiti on Nairobi's walls, policy documents, screenshots of social media threads from protests, opinion pieces, and literature. Each of us brought different materials in. We looked at each other's work, uploaded these onto Peace Platform, and really worked directly on these data artifacts before we tried to kind of write about them. And this is what helped to give the book a very grounded approach to the research. The project now lives in a few different forms, and each of these was solving a different kind of problem. At the center of the book is the database, built on an open source platform called the Platform for Experimental Collaborative Ethnography. That's where the core of the project lives. Artifacts, annotations, questions, metadata. You can move through it in many different ways, follow a thread, add your own questions. It's not linear, and it's not meant to be. But we also knew that not everyone is going to enter the book through a database. So we built a WordPress site as another layer, something simpler, more navigable, where a reader could get oriented without having to learn an entire new platform and system first. It doesn't replace the database, but we see it as just offering a different way in. And then there's a PDF version. This is published with African Minds, an open access publisher based in South Africa. That version is more stable. It can be cited, archived, and circulate in the ways academic work still needs to circulate. So putting these pieces together brought up a big question for us. How do you create something that can travel as a stable object while also leaving space for it to keep changing? One way we approached that was treating gatherings as part of the book as well. In November 2024, we brought the project into a wider community in Nairobi. Journalists, anthropologists, data scientists, STS researchers, we all met at the British Institute in East Africa. And we brought tables covered with Congo fabric, printed with proverbs about knowledge. This later became a core design principle for us, and you can see that kind of reflected in the different forms of the WordPress site in particular. The conversations that happened at that event directly shaped the project. A year later, in December 2025, we held another in-person gathering, and here we piloted a live peer review. Reviewers didn't just respond to the writing, but they actually directly engaged with the data, added questions and responses to the data, and even began to peer review the structure of the platform itself and the design decisions that went into building the platform. We had our developer and the designer in the room virtually, and it was great to have them also explain their choices and have a dialogue about how we actually infrastructured the book. This was all intentional to really foreground the infrastructure behind the book and then to also engage community in dialogue about that infrastructure. So when we say this is a book, we're using that term a bit loosely. And honestly, the form is part of the argument we're making in the book too. We are not just writing and researching about collective knowledge making and the infrastructure needed for more collective knowledge. We're doing it. And we're not just doing it, but we're trying to make that process visible. We're trying to make it as openly documented and discussed as we can. So the relationships, the discussions, the in-person meetings, the time it takes to work through all of this together and coordinate it, those are not side notes to the work. They are the work. And we're really excited to get feedback on this experimental book project. Thank you.